What if I told you that women can detect a man's weaknesses even before he utters a single word? It's not something that's visible on the surface. It's embedded in your posture, tone, and the overall way you navigate life. Many men are blissfully unaware of these cues, but women can sense them immediately. This isn't mere intuition. It's deeply rooted in psychology. Evolution has primed women to seek out strength, not just physical prowess, but emotional resilience, leadership, and self-assurance. When a man lacks these qualities, it's as if a silent alarm rings in her subconscious. However, let's clarify. Weakness isn't what you might think. It's not about making mistakes or failing. That's part of growing. True weakness stems from an inability to handle adversity, an over-reliance on external validation, and a lack of emotional control. As Stoics, we understand that genuine strength comes from within. It's not about putting on a show. It's about mastering your thoughts and reactions. Today, we'll uncover 7 subtle ways women perceive weakness, often without you even realizing it. By recognizing these patterns and addressing them, you can transform how people respond to your presence. Sign 1. Constantly seeking approval. One of the clearest indicators of weakness is a man's desperate need for approval. Women can easily perceive when your confidence hinges on their attention or validation, and this can be a significant turnoff. Psychologists refer to this as an external locus of control, where your self-esteem is governed by others' opinions rather than your internal beliefs. Men who are perpetually seeking validation resemble empty vessels waiting for someone else to fill them up. This creates a dynamic of perpetual performance, always striving to be enough. How does this manifest? You might find yourself fishing for compliments or altering your opinions just to keep the peace. You might feel anxious waiting for replies to texts or social media likes. As Epictetus wisely said, "Do not seek for the good in external things. Seek it within yourselves." Instead of looking outward for approval, cultivate your own standards for success. Ask yourself, did I live today in accordance with my principles? Did I act with integrity and courage? If your answer is yes, you don't need applause. Women are naturally attracted to men who radiate self-assurance and don't rely on constant reassurance. Sign 2. Avoiding conflict at all costs. Weak men often shun conflict, mistaking agreeability for likability. They believe that saying yes to everything will enhance their attractiveness, but women quickly see through this facade, which ultimately leads to a loss of respect. This phenomenon is known as submissive communication, where you suppress your own needs to maintain harmony. Over time, this avoidance can breed resentment, both internally and from others who recognize your lack of backbone. How does this play out? You might find yourself agreeing with opinions you don't truly hold, over-apologizing, or backing down at the slightest challenge. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the objective of life is not to align with the majority, but to escape the clutches of insanity. Embracing Stoicism doesn't mean shunning conflict. It means addressing it wisely and calmly. Practice assertive communication by expressing your opinions clearly and respectfully. Women admire men who maintain their stance with dignity. Remember, true strength lies in knowing when to speak and when to listen, without fear guiding your choices. Sign 3. Lack of emotional control. A man who lets his emotions govern him is akin to a ship lost at sea. Women are incredibly attuned to emotional instability, whether it manifests as anger, jealousy, or insecurity. These reactions scream weakness, indicating a lack of self-mastery. Emotional volatility often arises from poor coping mechanisms and a lack of awareness. Instead of processing your emotions in a constructive manner, you might react impulsively, driven by fear or ego. How does this show up? You may become defensive when faced with criticism or overreact to minor inconveniences, and feelings of jealousy might overwhelm you when she interacts with other men. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Emotional mastery begins with recognizing that your feelings are not facts, they are fleeting reactions. Cultivate mindfulness and reflection. When emotions like anger or insecurity arise, take a moment to pause, breathe, and observe without reacting. Over time, this practice will build resilience and calmness under pressure, traits that women find incredibly attractive. A man who can remain composed amidst chaos exudes a strength far more powerful than any physical display. Sign 4. Talking more than acting. There's a saying, a lion doesn't need to announce its presence. Yet many men fall into the trap of endlessly discussing their dreams, plans, and potential without ever following through with action. Women notice this immediately. They hear grand promises and ambitious plans, yet they recognize it as mere hot air. Why is this a sign of weakness? Because words without action reveal insecurity. It's an attempt to seek validation through verbal displays rather than tangible results. Men who consistently talk but fail to act signal that they're unsure of themselves. They're not just trying to convince others. They're attempting to persuade themselves of their capabilities. This behavior stems from what psychologists refer to as impression management, the desire to influence how others perceive you. Ironically, the more you talk about your intentions, the less credible you become. Words are cheap, but action is rare. Women respect men who deliver results quietly, rather than boasting about future successes. Signs you might be falling into this trap include frequently sharing your goals without taking actionable steps, exaggerating achievements, or making promises you can't keep. A man who speaks more than he acts becomes predictable and untrustworthy. Women are naturally drawn to those who act silently, surprising others with their accomplishments rather than their empty claims. Sign 5. Blaming others for your issues. A man who shirks responsibility for his life might as well wear a sign that reads, "I'm weak." Nothing is more off-putting to women than a man who plays the victim, constantly shifting blame onto the world for his failures. This behavior usually stems from a fragile ego that struggles with accepting failure. Blaming others serves as a defense mechanism, shielding you from confronting the uncomfortable truth that many of your challenges are self-created. The problem is, by refusing to take accountability, you also relinquish your power to change your circumstances. Women can instinctively sense this. They understand that a man who blames others is someone who will never evolve. This mindset signals weakness, showcasing a lack of resilience, maturity, and emotional intelligence. How does this manifest in daily life? You might complain about your boss or colleagues without taking steps to improve your situation. You may attribute your relationship failures solely to your ex without reflecting on your role in those dynamics. You might chalk up your lack of success to bad luck instead of acknowledging your choices. Women are attracted to men who take ownership of their mistakes. Accountability reflects strength. It demonstrates the courage to face challenges head-on and learn from them. Sign 6. Inability to say no. A man who struggles to say no lacks boundaries, and women can sense this almost immediately. At first, they might appreciate your agreeability, but over time, this behavior reveals a deeper issue, a lack of self-respect. When you say yes to everything, you're not being kind or generous. You're being spineless. You become a people pleaser, compromising your own needs to gain approval and avoid conflict. The harsh truth is that people, including women, don't respect those who can't assert themselves. The inability to refuse requests often stems from fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others, and fear of confrontation. Yet, this constant compliance creates a vicious cycle. The more you agree to things that don't serve you, the more people come to expect it. How does this weakness manifest? You might say yes to social events or favors, even when you're exhausted or uninterested. You may let others exploit your time and energy without resistance. Avoiding the word no may seem courteous, but in reality, it weakens your position. Women respect men who have clear boundaries and the courage to enforce them. A man who can confidently say no when necessary exudes strength, self-respect, and confidence. Sign 7. Lack of purpose. Perhaps the most significant indicator of weakness is a man who meanders through life without a clear sense of direction. Women are naturally attracted to men who live intentionally, driven by a mission, passion, or purpose. Conversely, a man without purpose tends to fade into the background, becoming just another aimless wanderer. Purpose isn't solely about fame, wealth, or grand accomplishments. It's about having a reason to get out of bed each day. It could be a goal, a passion, or a set of principles that steer your actions. Without purpose, life becomes hollow, filled with distractions and empty pursuits. A man lacking purpose may find himself endlessly scrolling through social media or drifting from job to job without ambition. Women can sense this void. It radiates from your actions, conversations, and body language.